This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Ever wonder where Tropicana got its name? The tropics. And every time you enjoy a glass, you're not just drinking juice, you're taking a trip. Stepping into sunshine and embarking on a flavorful journey into the tropics where ripe fruit is crafted into wildly delicious juice. And the best part? No passport required. Tropicana. Give life some juice.
Spectre Vision Radio.
Telemetry and launch condition.
Well, some other observers are...
It's late night.
It's late night on the astral plane, where it's never too late. With your host, Ryan Singer.
It's more fun to believe.
Greetings. Welcome to another voyage of Late Night on the Astral Plane. This is your buddy Ryan Singer. This is a solo voyage. I hope you're doing well. We've got some things to talk about. I've had something on my mind lately that is regarding, the sharing of videos that are, potentially Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, other natural phenomena or supernatural phenomena that may be occurring that make their rounds around the internet and through social media and through sharing, kind of like wildfire. And maybe we'll talk about a Ouija board session that I had recently, or that I partook in recently, that was pretty cool. I know a lot of people don't like the Ouija board, and it freaks some people out. I love doing the Ouija board. I do enjoy, the use of it, and we've talked ad nauseum on this show about how when the Ouija board broke bad to a lot of people, the movie The Exorcist and things like that. So. I don't look at the Ouija board as anything different than any of these other kind of devices that we're using to try to talk to the other side or talk to a greater intelligence. In the past, I've had some interesting experiences for sure with Ouija boards. I think I've told the story about one of the first times I ever used one, but I think I probably had to be in like 6th grade, right? And me and my buddy, were over at a girl's house, and she had a friend over, right? And I don't know, it was like a Friday night or something like that, right? And so we decided to do the Ouija board, and she had a Ouija board. So we set up some candles and things like that, and her parents were just somewhere else in the house, I'm sure. Anyway, we were asking questions you might expect 12, 13-year-old kids to be asking, like, who's going to be dating? Excuse me. Who's going to be dating who, et cetera, things like that. Well, we got an answer. We were asking about a specific girl and who she was going to be dating. And then we got initials. We got 2 initials. And then we said, okay, well, how long from now, when are they going to be dating? Because we're like, okay, we think we know who the initials are, but we never would have guessed, in our wise 12-year-old minds, we never would have guessed that these 2 kids would have ended up dating, right? So, and gave us a specific number. I think the number was 2. And so we're like, oh, wow, that's weird. And so then exactly 2 weeks later, roughly, well, roughly exactly, those can't be the same thing. So 2 weeks later, we get word that this girl started dating a guy with the same initials 2 weeks later. I mean, I found out in class. I remember I found out in class. And then I was like, oh, and then it hit me. And I was just like, oh my God. And so in between classes, I ran through the halls to find them and be like, oh my God, guess who's dating who? And they're like, yeah, yeah. And I go, the Ouija board, the Ouija board. And they're like, oh my God, the Ouija board. It was really cool as like far as a predictive tool of something, pretty benign, and pretty just kind of cute and childish, obviously. And that's when I first understood that there was something going on. There's something pretty fascinating and interesting happening with divination tools or predictive tools that are, channeling information or intelligence, whatever you want to call it, from some other source or from the greatness or the totality of all things and the nonlinear nature of time, even though I wasn't talking with words like nonlinear nature of time when I was 12 years old. So anyway, so maybe we'll talk about that a little bit in today's show as well. But something interesting occurred to me. Now listen, I did a lot of thinking on this the last couple of days because I've been taking extremely long walks. Yesterday I got to like 23,000 steps, which is pretty good. I mean, that's total. I didn't, I did like treadmill and then plus I did an outdoor like 7 mile walk because it was so beautiful outside. And I keep getting all of these messages from people, specifically my mom. And my mom, yeah, it's as if my mom doesn't understand that AI is a thing that has happened. She'll literally send me any video and be like, "What do you think of this?" Right? Maybe you have the same experience. Technology is bonkers and it's fascinating and it's wild and it's generative AI has gone well beyond the timeline. It has accelerated way past what I thought it would be right now. Personally, it's troubling because that means that it's stealing just more and more and more and more art. I do have certain pieces of mine that have been just taken by AI and used to train their generative AI systems. The Atlantic, it's a wonderful, news publication. They have a database set up where you can search if you're an artist and you're curious if any of your works have been stolen without compensation by these AI companies like Anthropic, ChatGPT, all these other people. You can do that. You can go search now. So I highly recommend doing that. I'm lucky that not everything I've ever made has been, like obviously I'm not at that level of like entertainer or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, I just think about all the authors out there and, everything else. And it's just like, people are using AI to like, make music and write books and things like that. And it's like they're just using other people's books to write your book, or make music to make your music and things like that. AI is so intertwined into our lives now that it's hard to be such a hardline bastard about it. But because I'm not going to act like it hasn't intertwined into my life as well. So, you could be doing something, that you might not even be aware is using AI in some way, right? And I created an app, for God's sake, with my cousins called Crystallize, which had a crystal identification function. It was the main function, of the app. I mean, we came up with the app and, unfortunately, it just took us too long to build it, so we weren't first to market. But when we started working on it, there were no apps, crystal identification apps at the time. But that's AI. That's AI based. So yeah, I sit over here and I bitch and I moan about AI all the time. But guess what? I made an app that utilized AI. It was one of its core functions. So settle down a little bit. Can we? Can we settle down a little bit? Nonetheless, what was I even talking about? Oh, okay. So like some of these videos and things that, get sent my way constantly. Some of them just really ring kind of creepy to me. And that's when I know That's when my gut tells me this is AI without even knowing, because I can, because we sense when something is slightly like, they call it the uncanny valley, and I think the movie The Polar Express one of the main victims of this. I think originally Sonic the Hedgehog, when they released some footage of the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, from what I was just hearing the other day, so people were talking about it, something about the teeth were too human on Sonic, and people were freaked out and didn't like it. So they went and just changed Sonic completely. And those movies are great, by the way. If you haven't seen the Sonic trilogy, highly recommend it. Big fan of Idris Elba. He shows up in the trilogy. Just fun movies. Fun movies. They're just great fun movies. So anyway, Sonic the Hedgehog, highly recommend. So I'm thinking about all these AI videos, and I'm thinking about, people actually capturing something that is real as opposed to AI videos. And how do we tell the difference? How can we differentiate? How can we decipher without just having to intuit all? Like not be into it, but intuit the difference between the two. And it's a tough, difficult, in becoming increasingly more difficult task by the day, seemingly. And I don't know why there's so many people out there who are creating fake things just to get clicks and views. It's one of the most maddening aspects of the human condition. Well, there's a lot more maddening aspects than that, but it's just like, who are these people? Who are these clowns? Who are these idiots who are creating? Is idiot too strong of a word? I don't think so. Who are these idiot clowns creating fake like content just to get clicks and views? Like, they're muddying up the waters so we can't see through any of it. And maybe it's the trickster nature of just like the universe, and paranormal phenomenon, supernatural things that's playing into this and just takes hold of these people. But these people, I mean, I wish these people would go away. I wish they would lose their phones or their computers. Now, that's not to say that satire isn't a thing that should be a thing, because it should. And we're living in a world where, though, satire and parody are, you know, as comedians, we have firsthand information about like, well, you can't really do that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, this is satire. Well, people aren't going to understand it's satire, and then they might take offense. It's like, well, then I guess that's their problem. I guess it's my problem too, it turns out. Because I have some old jokes that people have told me that like, oh, I don't know about this, regarding like abortion and, pro-choice versus pro-life and things like that. And it's just like, it's maddening to me to think that like we have to put on kids' gloves to such an extent that we always go too far with something before we bring it back. Anyway, you can hear those jokes on my first album. It's called Cookie Dough and Cannibals. I stand by that joke. And if someone doesn't understand the satire of it, I guess that's just the way it is. You can't just be a pushover in everything in your life, it turns out. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I think Aaron Tippin sung that in a song, and it's been bastardized, and it's a catchy little phrase, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to live our life by it. And also, I'm talking about jokes that I've written. Who cares? Like, relax, settle down. It's not that big of a deal. It's just my life's work. It's not that big of a deal. No, it's just everything. No, it's not that big of a deal. Okay. So anyway, moving past that, these people who are creating all this fake content, they madden me. And it's one of these things I need to release, right? And it's fine. I mean, I love spoofs and I love things like that, for sure. And I've done that. And I've done that kind of stuff. But now we're in an age of like such an explosion of mass media and social media and things like that, that there's actually no way to know for the average person when they're watching something that's a joke, or knowing that the person is a comedian, or creates things, is a creator more so than just an influencer, or whatever. So that also muddies the waters. Now, when it comes to the supernatural, the paranormal, and the crazy kind of videos and things like that, you're seeing, whether they're Bigfoot videos or whatever else, like these people are putting it online, they're making it with AI, they're putting it online. Maybe they think it's funny. Look at all these idiots who think this is real. Look at all these dum-dums who think this is real. It's like you're a sad person. If that's what you're doing, you're a miserable person, is my guess. That's my best guess, and I would guarantee it, actually. But all of this diatribe is to say just one important thing, and that with the increasingly difficult task of differentiating between real and not real when it comes to generative AI and all these hoaxers and fakers and pranksters and miserable dolts out there, it leads me to believe that we're trending back toward individual stories, firsthand accounts of experiences. And I truly, honestly believe that people who are always saying, you just don't know what anything's real anymore, blah, 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 they're not spending enough time out in the real world. And by the real world, I mean being outside, being around people, being off their phone or off their computer, off their TV. They're not spending enough time deviceless, right? So that's when that's what is real. When you go and shake someone's hand, when you go give somebody a hug, when you touch a tree. I was doing that yesterday. Oh my God. So I'm on this trail yesterday by myself, walking, having a beautiful time. I'm listening to an audiobook that is a friend of a friend that, as soon as I'm finished, I'm sure we've already been talking about like coming on the pod to talk about this. And I'm like, I can't do that until I have to read the book, or I have to, listen to the book first. So I can actually have an intelligent conversation about this thing. So that's coming whenever I can finish this thing. Right. So I'm listening to this book. I'm on this trail in the middle of nowhere. I decided to stop for a minute, and it's kind of a tall, skinny tree, right? It's kind of like, those like pipe cleaners we'd use as kids and like in arts and crafts and stuff like that. They're always kind of bent and kind of like just kind of jagged, going in different ways. Anyway, this is a tree that's like that, right? And so I don't want to, stand in the mud because I've only got one pair of shoes with me, and I'm on the road for another month still, right? So I don't want to like completely muddy up my shoes. So I don't go off the path that's paved, right? So, because there's a bunch of mud right there. And so I'm like angled, like kind of leaning forward, angled, and I've got two of my hands like just touching the tree, and I'm breathing deeply in and out, and I'm sending messages. I'm trying to communicate with the tree. It's just beautiful. There's not another soul around. And I'm just having this great time. And then after about, I don't know, a minute or so, a minute and a half, because I think you're supposed to touch a tree for at least 30 seconds. You're supposed to be in contact with the tree for 30 seconds to actually have a real transfer of energy. And I pull my hands back and I just look to my left, and just coming right down the middle of the path is a young couple with their kid. And they got a little toy tricycle, and the little kid is obviously instructing the mom what to do. So the mom hits the horn, and she looks at me like, she told me to do, and honk, honk. And I was like, oh, honk, oh, good. I'm glad you honked, And then I just start kind of laughing to myself, and I walk down. I keep walking down the trail because they're like, oh, what's this guy doing? They're not even like, oh, this guy is doing this. He's not hugging a tree. He's like strangely bent over, kind of touching this tree in a very awkward position, like to where is he having, is he in good health? Is he having a health situation unfold in front of us? But I'll tell you this too. walking down that same trail, I did the thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to hold my hand underneath a leaf of a tree that's kind of bending over and, kind of talk to it and ask it to, kind of give me a high five. You know what I mean? Kind of, reach out to me. Because people say they'll do that. And I've seen it done. And I've tried to do it in the past. So I do that. And this tree is very still. It's not doing anything. And I just hold my hand out. And then as soon as I get it up there, the leaf goes toink and gives me a high five. And I was like, oh, this is living. Right. So anyway, that's what I mean, being out in the real world, knowing what is real. Like, do I have a video of this? No, I don't. I thought about, I'm like, I should film the next time I walk up to a branch and film it, do that. And I was like, why not just experience it and then maybe talk about it if it happens and share the joy of the moment. And I was like, oh, because that's what we can trust. And then I was like, oh, this is exactly the counterpoint to the AI videos that, are being sent around constantly, or the videos that are real that get lost in the muck and the mire of the AI fraudsters and punksters and pranksters. So I think it's trending back toward that. Let's take a quick break and we're going to kind of, finish this idea and what I think it actually means and practically for the paranormal community, where I think it's headed, and the transformational effect I think it's having on the community itself, on experiencers, on witnesses, and on people like me who like to share stories and hear stories, et cetera, et cetera. And what does it mean about belief and the foundational core of belief? Does it transform it as well with modern technology, the influx of modern technology? Is it transforming belief, or is this the latest and greatest challenge toward belief? So we're going to be right back. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer. $3 a month gets you no commercials, right? And even $1 a month gets you no commercials sometimes. And even being a free patron, which you can do, get you no commercials every once in a while. I'll put an episode up for just on the page over there. So yeah, let's have some water and make sure you love it. I love you. I love you. And then we're going to be right back.
Most of us are one good deal away from finally replacing that worn-out rug, fixing up the backyard, or getting the bedroom we actually want. Good news, that deal's almost here. Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale. Get up to 80% off area rugs and up to 60% off outdoor and bedroom furniture. Shop Wayfair's huge selection of styles and find the piece to fit your style, budget, and space. Plus, free shipping. Black Friday in July ends July 27th. Shop today at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
And I'm back. I hope you're back too. From where? from the liminal void? I don't know exactly. So we're talking about AI or video proof, film proof, audio proof, etc., versus firsthand accounts, eyewitness testimony, the experiencer's story. And why I believe the explosion of generative AI, which is making all legitimate videos kind of get pulled into its undertow and thrown into the bin of BS, why I think that explosion of technology is creating a situation where the experiencer's story now becomes, once again, like it was in the very, very beginning, before technology even existed, the foundational truth of the paranormal and the supernatural. Now, the work that scientists are doing, trying to, unlock and uncover the secrets to the interdimensional nature of reality and the nonlinear aspects of time through mathematical equations and scientific inquiry, those are beautiful things that are happening. And many of them are beyond the scope of at least practical understanding when it comes to the gears and the shifts and the machinations of such things and how they can figure it out. Often it becomes lost in a word salad to a certain degree when some of these people who are considered to be like the geniuses and the most brilliant of the brilliant, they try to explain stuff and you're like, bro, you're talking to 6 people in the world right now. Hey lady, there's 4 people who understand what you're saying. Okay, so maybe the phrase is dumb it down, but that's not the accurate phrase. The accurate phrase is relate this to people who don't dedicate their lives to understanding 7-syllable words in a laboratory or inside of a calculator. Nonetheless, the experiencer's story, the eyewitness account, like whether it's the Bigfoot at Caesar's Creek with a few episodes back, like a month or so ago, whenever it was, or all the 850 plus episodes we've done of this show and its different names, me and Paranormal You, or now Late Night on the Astral Plane. These stories, I believe, are the foundational aspect of belief in the paranormal, the supernatural, and the greater world around us, and the endless possibilities that await us all, and that we all have embraced, whether we realize it or not in many aspects, or are willing to embrace, with a few more nudges from the universe in a synchronistic kind of way. Now, I do think like the universe as a character is kind of like, God, I mean, everybody's just like asking me like, hey, or, I'm supposed to show you things like the universe, hey, everybody's expecting me to do all the work. It's like the universe doesn't want to do the heavy lifting. Okay. The universe might give you a sign and then the universe is like, oh, wait, I got to give signs now. I got to give signs simultaneously to billions of people on the planet so that they'll get on the right path and not destroy the climate and they'll love one another. And like, that's a lot of work for the universe or God. I guess some people might consider to just be a synonym for God or a greater power. Right. But the story, right? The story that happens, the branch and the leaf on that branch, reaching out to give you a high five upon setting that intention while you're on a walk by yourself. The ghost that you see, the strange lights in the sky that dance around for you. These things, the telepathic conversations, the information you're receiving from beyond, from a loved one potentially. These stories, these characters of ghosts, you hear from children and as adults, as they remember these stories now, as they reawaken into their woo-woo wild self, right? These are the things that show us the reality of our world. The fabric of reality is woven with the threads of stories. Everything's a story. And I know this is like one of my things. I know this is like, oh, I'm retrofitting everything into my thesis that everything in the world is a story. And it's not my thesis. I mean, this isn't new ground I'm breaking over here. But I do believe that life existence itself is it's built by stories. And it's the stories we tell ourselves. It's the stories that are told to us. It's the stories that we tell others. This is the story of our existence. This house that I'm in right now was the story someone told coming from their imagination as they envisioned what would build it, what would make it. And the people that came in to help build it, they're the characters of the story, right? And what had to be done to get there. That's the journey of the characters through this story. Now, is this a simplification? Is this a better well put maybe is to say, is it an oversimplification of the existence of life in general in the journey of the soul or the consciousness? Quite possibly so, but sometimes we need to, make it relatable, man. Okay. There's like 19 people out there who can understand what you're talking about. If you're using all these $5 words and, scientific concepts and, quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all this other kind of stuff, right? So that's not, like CERN got shut off. It's like, my question is this. I know that was going around like a week ago or whatever it was, but if you didn't know that CERN was shut off, would you even have noticed the peculiar things happening around or whatever? Like I think this is one of those things. It's like the cart before the horse or whatever it is. It's like if they never told you that they turned CERN off, would you even have been like, today something crazy has happened, like a switch was flipped? I don't think so. I don't think so. CERN has become this like hot button word, right? For everything. Now I could be wrong. Now CERN could be like, you know, responsible for everything that's weird that's ever happened in the last 25 years or whatever, right? Uh, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, right? I mean, it's one of the a billion trillion possibilities that could be happening in this reality. But I also think that's probably not. I don't know. I mean, you can go just live in the woods by yourself, and you wouldn't know anything about CERN. You can go get lost somewhere in the jungle, and you wouldn't know anything about the nonlinear nature of time and quantum mechanics. You could be a dog and not care about disclosure, I suppose. That's another possibility. But what are the stories we tell ourselves, and what is the energy that we give these stories, and what is the belief and the amount of like energetic currency we're putting into some of these stories to make them stronger and more firm in our lives. And that's something we've heard about for a long time from gurus or spiritual leaders, and and woo woo people of the like talk about. It's like what you put your energy into and what you build. Now, for me, I'm putting my energy into AI is BS, and stories from people are gold. And that's where I've been previously, and that's where I probably will remain. And I don't want to make myself too rigid and adverse to change, because I'm not going to sit here and act like AI hasn't improved people's lives or made people's lives better in countless ways, probably. That doesn't mean that there's a really dark, bad side of that coin, because there is. And that reminds me, I've got my Death to Data Centers T-shirts in hand. A friend, they were delayed in the shipment. Unfortunately, I didn't have them when I was in Bloomington. I will have them in Mason City, Illinois. I'll have them in Cincinnati at Go Bananas. It's Godzilla destroying a data center. I think you're going to like these shirts. I mean, if not, I'll wear every single one of them every day because I love these shirts. And my buddy Torkel over at October Custom Publishing designed the shirts. If you need anything like that, you need to hit up my guy Torkel. He's like the unofficial official sponsor of the show, OCP, octobercustompublishing.com. You can go there. It's like, all-time sponsor of the program and of Ryan Singer Comedy. I just love it. And I love the work he does. Guess what? He's not AI. And that's what I love about him most. He's a person. Okay. So what about the paranormal community, and what does this mean? I think that with the explosion of generative AI and all these things, let's condense this, let's summarize this so we can move on to the next part. What we have is a paranormal community that will trend back toward storytelling and firsthand accounts of the strange and the paranormal and the supernatural and the woo, right? And the unexplainable. And evidence like, I don't know, practical evidence, let's say like a Bigfoot casting, that again will become more compelling to people than a crazy video. Something what they in the movie business would call practical effects, not using computers, but like building something, making something with your hands is a practical effect, right? With materials in this world, in the 3D world, right? So I think we're going to head back towards storytelling and practicalness when it comes to practical evidence. I think will be the most important. And it probably always has been. And someone might say, well, capturing something on film is still physical. It's still, in that way, it could be considered practical. And listen, I'm not here to debate the finer points of that with the imaginary skeptic in my head who's challenging me right now. But I will say this. I would much rather sit down with someone and hear their story of seeing the beautiful lights dancing over the red rocks in Sedona than have to put all my eggs in a basket about this video that's going on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or whatever about this strange, about a person who doesn't want to be identified. So they gave me this video. And it's like, I don't believe people like that. That was too harsh of a sentence. I tend not to care or pay attention when I read things like that, right? When I hear things like this person didn't want to be identified because blah blah, so they gave me the video, and this is it really it's a for me this is like I have a skeptical nature in many things. For me, that is a person already putting up a barrier to having BS called on them, because if someone or anyone easily identifies the video as being BS, now the person who posted it has this buffer like, hey man, this video was given to me by someone who they didn't want me to say who they are, so I can't say who they are. I can't say who they are because they didn't want me to, and I promised. So now there's an immediate buffer of BS, a BS buffer there. And that doesn't sit with me very good. So, I know a lot of whistleblowers. I don't know a lot of whistleblowers, but what I'm saying is I know that it is common for whistleblowers to remain anonymous or anonymous sources in reporting and things like that, as long as they can be confirmed by a second person or another thing. At least that's like the journalistic rule, even though people don't think journalists still exist, which they do. And they're different than commentators. Those aren't journalists. I'm talking about journalists, not commentators or talking heads. Those aren't journalists. I'm talking about journalists. But for me, that is a video that I'm not going to get into. I'm not going to give a ton of credence to it. I'm also not going to get a ton of credence to all these accounts out there that are just ripping off videos from other places and posting them and being like, I don't know, I think this could be interesting, right? Blah, 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 blah. And they never once mention the source of the video. It's just people ripping people off constantly. And I do have a sore spot about this as someone who, fancies themselves as a writer, an artist, a creator, someone who makes original things, creations, art kind of things. Social media has turned society into just a bunch of rip-off artists, literally rip-off artists. They fancy themselves special and important because they have 300,000 followers when they're just grifting and ripping from the internet. Other people, I'm a curator. You're a rip-off artist, in my opinion. But now they fancy themselves important. Because they have a bunch of eyeballs on them, or eardrums pointed at them, so like, oh, it's important what I'm doing because blah blah blah. Now, that is the ills of capitalism and social media and things like that, because people are desperate to get high numbers because they think it'll be some kind of payday for them at the end of that rainbow. There's going to be some kind of pot of gold, but the bad news is there's not. And even if there is a little bit money to be had there, I am most certain that there's no joy and happiness found there. You're not really doing anything. You're taking without attribution most of the time, and you're recycling. You're plagiarizing, things like that. That's what AI is, right? And that's why I think at some point people will come back and are already probably turning the vehicle around to come back in the paranormal community itself. I mean, paranormal conferences still are all about people talking. So it's not like the community even has to come back to it, right? The entirety of paranormal conferences are built around speakers giving talks and talking about their experiences. So that's already the bedrock. That's already the foundation of the paranormal community. Now, AI and video evidence and things like that have made their way into presentations and things like that, right? And people in the community have even embraced AI. There's people with like very popular like social media accounts, and the reason I know this is because people will like send them to me. Like, I've been asking AI about like the future and blah blah blah, and I think AI is channeling source because blah blah blah, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. How many people are watching this shit? This is crazy. Like, how far away from just the person telling us their story can we get? It's almost like it's a contest, right? To see like how many sources of how many steps away from Kevin Bacon can we get from Kevin telling us about the ghost he saw? And it's like, yeah, AI is saying all this really profound stuff, though, when I ask you these questions. Yeah, it's sourcing all of the woo and the blogs and the videos and everything that's ever been written or said about it already. It's not coming up with anything original. It is just simply reading back to you things it has taken from other places. Not that there isn't some kind of like service in that to a certain degree when you're well, if you're looking for research, that's exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to find information from previous sources from everywhere else to find connections and things like that, right? So that is interesting. Research is fascinating. Research is deeply, deeply interesting in that way, especially when you find connections between things. And AI can maybe do that a lot faster. It can do it, boom, in the blink of an eye for you. So that is fascinating. That's a fascinating aspect of where technology is right now. But when it comes to AI being your channel or your like spirit guide, I seldom like to say hard no because it's more fun to believe, blah 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 blah. I seldom will ever give a definitive hard no on something. But you're telling me your, Claude or your Chat GPT or whatever else is your spirit guide? Hard no. Not interested in that information. Because I'm more interested in a person who's a channeler. Well, Ryan, all these different ghost devices, they're just different types of devices to try to channel information from the great beyond or from a higher source or from an interdimensional place or from spirit or from consciousness. Don't you think that consciousness could use ChatGPT to kind of filter its message through to you if you're using it in the right way? Okay, fine. Hard no's even still have a soft yes in there somewhere. But the point is, we will be back to people because at the end of the day, it's all about people anyway. And I had this conversation with someone the other day at a comedy club. Like, to me, and this is a hard line, and it's probably not a 100% case basis, but if this is when like a comedian is truly funny. Are they still funny if the grid goes down? Like, if the grid goes down, is this person still funny? And if the answer is like, oh, I don't know, then the answer is no. So we're talking about truly funny, whatever. That's just me being an asshole. But I sound like a grumpy old bastard. But the point is, people are the key. People and their stories are the key. And all of this influx of generative AI is reminding us how important it is to listen and to understand, to empathize, and ultimately to trust, which we have to make that decision on a case-to-case basis, of course, depending who's telling us the story. There's still tricksters out there who want to make up some stories, but that's up to you to decide. And for me, that is the biggest piece of evidence you can have. When someone is sharing a story that maybe embarrasses them, maybe they're scared to talk about, that's evidence. And that is proof of something bigger and greater than ourselves, and something mysterious in the world, which is really, really kind of cool when you think about it. And all the other stuff, the AI and things like that. Yeah, we're searching for better and better ways and quicker ways to try to prove stuff fast. And yeah, and with that comes the people faking and grifting and tricking and things like that. And it's just part of the game. And people like me need to not be such a hard ass about it, right? And that's fine. And it's a process. We're all hopefully learning and growing. We come back. I want to tell you about this Ouija board session just a little bit. I have no idea how long this has been so far. I've just been kind of ranting and raving, but it's people, baby. It's people. Don't be Richard Pryor in Superman 3. Don't be swallowed by the computer. Be a person. Be a paranormal person. We're going to be right back and put a bow on this bad boy.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. Zero tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
So I was recently visiting some friends. There were 4 of us there, right? It's me, my gal, and hanging out with some friends. And we're doing a Ouija board session. And boy, oh boy, do I love a Ouija board. And I know my dear friend Karen Rotowski won't touch one. And, you know, Karen and I don't have to agree on every single thing in the world, right? I hope you enjoyed that interview that just came out with her recently. But if you haven't heard that yet, go back a couple weeks and check that out. And but she won't touch a Ouija board. At least last I checked, she wouldn't. I remember when I think I went to visit her in New York a couple of years ago. I had a Ouija board in my trunk, I think. And she's like, you maybe park that car on the street. I'm making that up, I think. I think that's just a joke. But I did have a former roommate who was like, you know, keep that in your car. I don't want the Ouija board in the house. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I mean, I've used a Ouija board that we made from scratch, a homemade Ouija board with my buddy Kat. That's when we thought we talked to the moon. And we also forgot the letter R on that one, but I don't think it mattered. And the moon was very cheeky. It was very like sassy and funny. It was a really, that's when, if you go back years and years on this show, you'll hear me talk about it, because we experienced, both of us think we experienced a small snippet of lost time during that Ouija board session. It was really, really weird. In the Ouija board section of the store, you have lost time on sale, limited time only. So I was the note taker. Now, when you're doing a Ouija board session, unless there's only 2 of you, someone always has to be taking notes. This isn't a hard and fast rule. In my opinion, it would behoove the people participating in the session to have a note taker. And I got so into taking notes, I didn't even be like, hey, get me on the board on this particular one. I didn't even get on the planchette this time. And something really, really wild happened. If you know anything about me, you know there was a time, and still that time is current, but I just don't yap about it all the time. I don't yammer on about it constantly. It's the 7. And obsessed with this idea of the 7 that Mark Macy had talked about. There's also, the 7 is a very powerful number in many different cultures for many different reasons, and they have associations with highly powerful, that was gross, highly powerful supernatural things, like, you know, even one of the most basic examples, like 7th heaven, right? It's like a high level of heaven. So, but as you know, I yammer on about the 7s if you listen to this show a bunch. And the 7 are these, you know, ethereal beings that Mark Macy and his ITC counterparts were getting all of this, you know, information about the future and about the true nature of reality, et cetera, by building a bridge, which is really cool that he called it that. I mean, it's just like, I'm so obsessed with the bridge and bridges and the seven and things like that, right? So at one point during this session, and I'm taking notes, I have a deck of cards that I consider to be a magical deck of cards. It's just a playing cards. And I've used it at the Rhodes house. It's got personal meaning to me, this deck. This deck is magical. I love this deck, and I'll do my best to try to hold on to this deck as long as I can and keep it in usable shape. The point is, I play a lot of golf with this deck. Golf is a card game that I really enjoy. So I have the deck next to me because I've never done this before, but I thought this would be cool. That if the planchette goes to a number on the Ouija board when answering a question, I would just, after shuffling the deck and putting them face down in front of me, I would pull the top card and try to get confirmation of that number if the planchette goes to a number clearly on the board. So the first time that it happened, it said, the question was asked, can you tell us your name, yes or no? And it went to 7. So I pulled a card and it said, and the card I pulled was the Jack of Spades, which not 7, but is your name 7? Are you part of the 7? And the answer was no. Are you part of this house? Maybe it went to yes. They couldn't tell. Are you the 7? No answer. Who is this? 7. I pull a card, 7 of diamonds. Now, we all screamed, kind of. We all kind of yelled when it happened. It was pretty funny. But what's interesting about that is later that evening, or even before, I'm trying to remember the timeline on that. And this was just me going off like the transcript, right? There's a few pages there. There's 2 full pages, right? Or 2 or 3. And I tried to, I would just randomly pull some cards. I'd be thinking about something from this same deck as I was shuffling. And over and over and over again, I just kept pulling a jack. And then later, we do the Ouija board session. First card I pull, Jack. So is there something to Jack? The name Jack? Or the Jack card itself, like the prince, the sun? What is it? What does the Jack represent? And, there are some very mirroring qualities between, the traditional playing card deck and tarot decks. But nonetheless, that was a really fun, interesting, exciting Ouija board session. Nothing really strange outside of, or I shouldn't say that, because that was pretty strange and pretty exciting. There was a couple moments there that were pretty exciting, but there was nothing ominous or, but I will say this. The next morning in the house we were staying, this is weird. There's like a counter where there was a couple of different coffee makers, and there was a little Tupperware container that held some of the pods. And so at one point in the morning, I call it the morning, but it was probably, sometime afternoon, a Tupperware container that wasn't anywhere near the edge of this little, one of those little, like table stands that people have in their kitchen where they put like a couple things on top, and then there's maybe a shelf or 2 underneath it. Whatever those are called. It was up there, but it was tucked in a corner, kind of like against the wall and, behind something else. That Tupperware container flew. We didn't see it. Someone heard it and then walked into the kitchen, and that Tupperware container of Nespresso is now in the middle of the kitchen floor, even though it was against the wall with things in front of it on this table, this little table that was, up against the wall. I don't know, man. Was it Jack? Was it Jack wanting some coffee? Was Jack wanting to get jacked on coffee? I don't know, but it was pretty wild stuff. And I'd be interested to know if anything weird has been happening in the house since we left. I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to have to find out. I'll find out later today, hopefully. But yeah, so I'm pro Ouija board over here. I mean, do it the right way. Don't be jerks about it. Don't be a jerk like I was in this entire episode talking about AI. I just get, it's one of my buttons, right? It's clearly one of my buttons that gets pushed. Plagiarism, people just not respecting art in general. I think people being dismissive of the hard work that artists put in, the blood, sweat, and tears that artists contribute into the creations that they make and the art that they make. Clearly, it's one of my buttons. Clearly, I'm a sore Steve about it. So I'll work on that. I'll work on releasing all that. It's like, come on, man. I don't need Todd to show up right now. It's just like, hey, if Todd was here, what would he tell me? He'd be like, hey, man, you just got to remember, man, this is all temporary. And, you think it's like one of the most egregious things in the world, but zoom out, have a little perspective, sit in your chair in the Milky Way galaxy and look down upon the pale blue dot that is this earth, that is this magical wonderland where all these different diverse creatures play, and understand that just not everybody's thinking about that. And these shiny new toys are showing up and they're inside of our phone, and people are like, oh, I can take a picture of myself and make myself on a spaceship, and I can make a 30-second movie about me going to Mars with a Snickers bar and my old favorite pet dog, James, because I have a picture of James on my phone. Now James and I are in a rocket ship flying to space with a Snickers bar. This is so wild, man. That's what people are thinking. They're not thinking about, like, I wonder how many artists had their work stolen and confiscated without licensing to create such a thing. I'm thinking about that because it's pretty wild that we can do that on our phones and computers, and how fast it happens. And meanwhile, animators everywhere are rolling over in their yet to be dug graves. See, there it snuck in again. It snuck in again. Sore Steve. Sore Steve. Poor sore Steve, huh? Someone needs to give poor sore Steve a milkshake. Cheer him up. Oh my God, the Steak and Shake Dream Shake or Dreamsicle Shake. The orange, like, there's a creamsicle inside of it. I'm like, what is this? What's this big thing in the middle of the cup? And you open the lid, and there's a wooden stick inside your cup. You're like, what is there a wooden stick inside my cup? This is unacceptable. So sorry I ever doubted or accused you of trying to choke me on splinters. There's a dreamsicle inside, or creamsicle, whatever we want to call it, inside the milkshake itself. No hole in the lid, though. That's my one ding on the Steak and Shake right now. Because I got to tell you, I might have to make a new list because this milkshake was so damn good. If you have a Steak and Shake and all and the milkshake was cooked in beef tallow. If you get it, you get it. Anyway, I love you. I hope you love yourself. I've got some shows in Cincinnati, August 6th through 9th. I'm doing the podcast live on that Sunday, August 9th. That's going to be wild and weird, and we've never done it live before. So we're going to see what happens. But the 6th, 7th, and 8th, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'll be doing live stand-up comedy. I'll be recording those shows. I'd love if you're anywhere near the area, I'd love for you to come out and be on my new album that I'm recording. I'll be in Mason City the weekend before that, the 31st of July and August 1st. And then I will be also an exciting announcement coming up for the end of September that I'll tell you about. I'll tell you about that later when there's more information to be shared. But it's going to be a really fun time. That's going to be up in the up on the East Coast area. So anyway, we'll talk soon. I got a great interview coming for you next week, or maybe it was last week. It doesn't matter. Time isn't real. RyanSingerComedy.com. And in the meantime, patreon.com/Ryan Singer, $3 a month. Hey, come join the party. Oh my goodness gracious, that milkshake is so good. I'm gonna have to get another one, and I'll post the photos and stuff like that over there, because it's just crazy. It's crazy how good it was. And that's why I did 23,000 steps yesterday, because the night before I had that milkshake at like 11 o'clock at night, and I was like, it's like, you got to earn the burn, you got to earn the churn. Okay. I hope to see you at a live show. If not, I'll just see you at the watering hole on the astral plane.